Hi, welcome in. My name is Ro. I'm a project manager, content creator, and healthy productivity fanatic. And as the title of this video suggests, I will mainly focus on the latter part of that title in this video. A little bit of a personal background story on this one. I have been experiencing pain for basically as long as I can remember. I've seen many doctors throughout the course of my entire life, starting from a very young age and continuing all the way through puberty and my life in my 20s. Last year, I finally found the right doctor that could help me, and in October of 2023, I got the diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and fibromyalgia. Both of these diagnoses really fit with the things that I've been struggling with. They felt very recognizable. So I was finally at peace with the fact that I knew at least what I should call the things that I was experiencing in my body. I'm very lucky to live in a place where for both chronic illnesses, there is actually some form of a treatment plan available. Unfortunately, it's not something that you can treat so that it will go away, but there's a lot of strategies that you can implement into your life that can actually help you manage the pain or actually make the pain less. I started this treatment a couple of weeks ago, and it is very safe to say that my life completely turned upside down. I've always kind of known that I had to change my schedule and my way of working around how much energy I had and the pain that I was feeling in my body. However, I don't think I've ever felt it as much as in the past couple of weeks. As a person with a productivity channel and a person who's very vocal about mental health and productivity in general, I feel like it would be good to make a video about how this chronic illness impacts my productivity and my working life, because I think it's something that a lot of us are struggling with and it's not very often talked about on the internet. I've had to adjust a lot of things in the past couple of weeks, and in today's video I would like to walk you through how I did that, what I did, what kinds of tools I've been using to accommodate all of this change, and I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you have any questions, I'm basically an open book about this topic, so if there's anything you'd like to know, feel free to ask that question and I will do my best to answer it. Of course, there are certain things that I cannot disclose simply because of privacy or personal reasons, but I'll do my best to still answer your question. And if there's anything in this video that can help you, then that's my greatest pleasure to do so, because I've actually received a lot of help from other creators out there that shared their story with me, which eventually led me to finding the right doctor. So if I can give a little bit of that back, then I would genuinely be super happy. Also, if you are not necessarily chronically ill, but you are struggling with being tired, maybe adjusting to the post-COVID life, all of those things, I do think you can actually get quite a lot of valuable takeaways from this video too. So don't write off the video if you're not chronically ill or you're struggling with mental health issues, because I think there's some valuable lessons in this video for everyone. I have mentioned it a couple of times now that my treatment so far has made some vast changes in my life. So I would like to actually give you a little bit of background about what those changes were, because I feel like treatment changes sounds a little bit vague, so it might be good to walk you through some of the practical things that I ran into. When I first got the diagnosis, they told me that there was kind of a treatment available, which is called, there's not like a really good word for it in English. I think the closest word is rehabilitation, but I feel like that kind of sometimes has a negative connotation with like rehab from having an addiction or something. But in this sense, it's basically like when you get in a car accident and you have to learn how to walk again, that kind of treatment. So for the rest of this video, I'll probably call it just treatment, but it consists of a variety of doctors, from physiotherapists, ergotherapists, a psychologist, all being involved in helping you through an 8-week program where you can adjust your life, you can learn how to move your body to hopefully manage your pain and make sure that your pain reduces. When I arrived at the intake for this specific treatment, the doctor immediately told me that if I wanted to be part of this program, I actually had to start taking 15-minute rest breaks every 1.5 hours. At first, I thought to myself, oh, that shouldn't be too bad. I can just go get myself a cup of tea, take maybe like a walk outside. But she was like, no, what we mean with rest breaks is that you actually go lay down and you don't do anything for 15 minutes. I'm not allowed to look at my phone. I'm not allowed to listen to a podcast. I am allowed to listen to maybe some meditation music. So huge shout out to anyone who makes ASMR, ambient music, anything that I can use in those 15 minutes to calm down. Because with my ADHD brain, it's actually really hard to just lay there for 15 minutes and do nothing. I think everyone would struggle with that a little bit, but my brain doesn't want to shut off. So huge shout out to every creator that I've been watching that has been literally making my life so much easier. If that's something that you're interested in, I would love to do a video of my favorite like ambient ASMR creators. So feel free to let me know in the comments if that's something that you would like to know my recommendations on. But that's what I have to do. I have to go lay down for 15 minutes every 1.5 hours. And this has been extremely disruptive for my social life, my productive life, my work life, my content creation life, because all of a sudden I had to completely swap around how I think about my day, because all of a sudden I just have chunks of 1.5 hours where I can do work before I need to go lay down again. This means that it's really hard for me to right now go out of the house. I'm pretty much housebound because I cannot really go outside, because most of the time when you go somewhere, by the time you have to be back to go lay down again, 1.5 hours has passed. So I've not been working from the office. I'm solely working from home. As you can see, there's a lot of challenges here that all relate back to how you can do your job and how capable you are of being productive. So I will later in this video share some tools and strategies that really helped me maintain both my work and also my content creation, and like continue to progress on all of my goals that I've set for myself this year. On top of those 15 minutes of rest, I'll be doing a very intensive 8-week program that starts in May, where for 2 mornings, so in total 8 hours a week, I will actually be going to that facility. We will be doing exercises, we'll be learning about theory on how to take care of your body, all of these things, which is great, but they already recommended that for the afternoon after, I'm not allowed to do anything, which basically takes 2 full days out of my week where I am not able to be productive, where I'm not able to work. Again, I'm very lucky that I live in a place where 1, this treatment is available, and 2, where there's a lot of laws and regulations in place, because I know in general in Europe, but specifically in the Netherlands as well, there's a lot of laws and regulations for if you get sick, my boss is not allowed to fire me. My boss is actually accommodating this very well. So I am very lucky that I get to do this. I am fully aware of that, but it has a major impact on the work that I can deliver. Also, being a freelancer, quote unquote, as a content creator, obviously when I cannot work, I won't have income. It's very simple like that. I think this in general has just shown me how much of an impact it has to not be able-bodied. I never really fully realized the extent of this, but I think a lot of things that they're trying to teach me now are things that I'm going to have to implement into my life as continuous strategies and not just something for the coming weeks. So it is actually really good for myself to already look at my calendar and look at my to-do list and look at the way that I view productivity with all of this in mind, because it's not going to be temporary. These are changes that are probably going to last for the coming years. So adjusting my life and the way that I work is going to be beneficial for myself in the long run. And therefore, I think it is also very valuable to share these lessons with all of you, because everything that I'm finding and discovering right now could potentially help you. And if you implement those into your life, you can maybe build a more sustainable and healthy productivity practice. So some tools and strategies that have helped me. So for all of you who are not aware, if this is the first time that you're watching my channel, I am a huge Notion person. I absolutely adore Notion. I have many videos on how I set up my Notion. So if you want to check those out, feel free to hop over to my channel, and there is plenty of content out there, including a full tour of my current Notion setup. But something that has been extremely useful is having a good backlog, because even if my productivity decreases and the time that I have on a day to work, I am still a person with 5 million ideas and too many things that I want to do. So having a place for myself to store that information and to know that whenever I will have the time and energy for it, I will get back to it is so comforting, because I don't constantly have to stress about I have to do this right now because otherwise I'll forget. Anyone with ADHD will probably also recognize this. Out of sight, out of mind. So making sure that I cannot really lose it or it will be out of my sight is so comforting, because I don't have to stress about remembering everything, which has already freed up a huge chunk in my brain, because I always had a backlog, but at this point I've just been starting to dump everything on that backlog, and it's helping me so much. I've tried to make some better categories in my backlog so that not everything becomes this really long and overwhelming list, but Notion is great for that, with the whole system of being able to create your own tags and everything. It's just, I cannot express how much having a backlog has helped me, and also how much Notion has helped me to actually achieve that. Something else is things like my projects and my notes and all of those things to make sure that my work is transferable. This is particularly important for my project management job. I have made a full dashboard for my work, which unfortunately I don't think I can show in this video because it contains private information for my work, which I'm not allowed to share with anyone. This dashboard has been a massive help in making sure that everything that I work on a day is actually written down and documented well, accessible for everyone in my project team, including the co-pilot that is now going to help me out as a project manager on my project. Because if you have to communicate but you don't have very much overlapping working time, especially if you're dealing with things like time zones and stuff, it can be really tough to make sure that your coworkers still know what you were up to, and Notion has been a huge help in making sure that everything is documented. Then I use Google Calendar for all of my appointment tracking, which I've always used Google Calendar for this, and it remains to this day one of the best apps for me to just kind of dump all my appointments, make sure that whenever I have somewhere to be activity or something to do, that is logged for me and that I can find it again. I share a calendar with my partner, which has been hugely beneficial because with all of my health breaks and everything, it can be a little bit confusing for him when I'm available, because sometimes I'm working, sometimes I'm resting, sometimes I'm in bed but I'm not available to talk, and sometimes I'm chilling on the couch and I can talk, and like it's really hard for him to kind of gauge whenever I would be available. So by just checking my calendar, he can see, oh, actually she's on a rest break right now, it's fine, I'll just leave her, which makes it really easy in us having to accommodate this in our home as well, because I'm just, for 2.5 hours a day, I'm not available. I'm laying in my bed and doing nothing in total. So it's a really hard change to accommodate too. And then I've actually recently discovered a brand new tool, and they are very kindly sponsoring this video. So thank you so much to Akiflow for first and foremost reaching out to me, because I had never heard of Akiflow, and then they sent me an email requesting a collaboration, and I looked into that tool and I immediately felt like this tool would actually bridge a gap that I was experiencing between all of the tools in my productivity system. So I would love to tell you about Akiflow in this video. Yes, it is a sponsored video, but I also genuinely love this product, and I would just love to tell you guys about everything they offer so you can get a little bit of a better understanding, because they are a newer player in the productivity tools market. And as a productivity channel, I also feel like it is my duty and my pleasure to share those tools with you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Akiflow and how I use it, how it's helped me in the past couple of weeks to adjust to my new routine, and also just in general what you can expect from Akiflow as an app. So Akiflow's mission is to provide an intuitive time blocking platform that streamlines the task scheduling process, enabling users to maximize their productivity and make their work efficient. Something that I immediately noticed when I looked into their website was that the whole concept of, we know that in your productivity system you're already using tools, and switching to something new is probably going to be a huge challenge. So how about we build something that will add on to what you already have? That for me was such a huge selling point, because I get so overwhelmed with tools that look amazing, but then proceed to kind of request you to completely ditch what you're already using. Whereas Akiflow just integrates seamlessly with tools like Notion, Google Calendar, Todoist. If you're using Slack at work, it integrates with that, your Outlook, your Gmail, like every single place that you are using to work on parts of your life integrates with Akiflow, kind of making it the end-all be-all hub where you can just connect everything, and that is the place that you can work from your day-to-day life without having to worry about keeping everything up to date in all of those places, because Akiflow will do that for you. I have made videos in the past about time blocking in Google Calendar and in Notion Calendar, but something that I've never really been able to tackle with those is keeping my calendar somewhat clean. Because what happens when you start time blocking and managing your tasks and your appointments and your reminders all in one calendar is that your calendar becomes ridiculously messy. It is very nice to be able to have a place where you have one singular overview, but it really sucks if that single place then becomes extremely cluttered to a way that it's almost impossible to use. So what I love about Akiflow is that it allows you to do all of those things while still preventing your calendar from looking horrendously busy and messy. As a person who works with a work calendar, and then I block time, but then in that time I'm going to do certain tasks, but some of those tasks are also work meetings, this results in a calendar that sometimes has 3 different things next to each other on the same time slot, because they're technically all the same thing, but one is a time block. Within that time block I have a meeting, and then one is a task to actually complete that meeting. Obviously, if everything comes together in one place, I wouldn't have to make a task for a meeting, but if you're trying to use Notion as your to-do list, and then you're using Google Calendar or Outlook as your time tracking, if your meeting is not on your to-do list, you might lose sight of it, but if you only work from your calendar, you would lose sight of your to-dos. So by combining them in one calendar, you kind of get duplicates. And this is something that I've just never been able to figure out, and then Akiflow came in and I was like, wow, this is exactly what I've been trying to do, because it allows you to create time blocks where you can then drag your to-dos in. So for instance, I create time blocks that then show up in my Google Calendar as well as a time block to work on something, but then within Akiflow, I can actually drag my Notion tasks into that time block. This allows my calendar to actually look really clean while still having all the information readily available to just check my to-do list of the things that I wanted to work on in a certain time block. It is super convenient. It has a two-way sync with Notion Notion as well. So if you're actually organizing your tasks in Akiflow, they will get assigned a date and a time that you're going to work on them in Notion. And if you check them off in Akiflow, they will also get checked off in Notion. This makes sure that even though you might be working in two systems, technically they're all integrated with each other and you never have to worry about things not being up to date across your systems. Another thing that is really nice is the inbox feature, because something that I struggle with is whenever I'm on the go or whenever I'm working and an email comes in, I know that I have to do something with it. So I kind of just leave it sitting in my inbox in my email until I have time to pick it up. And then I go in my Notion and I schedule a task to actually pick up that email. And then my Notion task has to be scheduled in my calendar in the time blocking. This just makes it such a messy process of having to answer one email, but usually those emails require me to read into something or look into something. So it's not something that I can just do in the moment. And what is really nice is that Akiflow integrates with everything. Again, that's such a huge selling point of this tool. But what they do is they allow you to label an email in your Gmail box with an Akiflow label, and then it will just pop into your inbox. And from that Akiflow inbox, you can either schedule it at a moment that you want to do it in one of the time blocks that you made for yourself, or you can actually label it as someday, and that's basically your backlog of tasks in Akiflow. I have all of my Notion backlog tasks as a someday task in Akiflow as well. And then if I ever want to actually pick them up, I can just go through that category in Akiflow and drag it to a time slot that I'm going to do it, which automatically changes it from a backlog task into an active task on my to-do list. Another great upside to Akiflow, and I know at this point I'm just raving about the tool, but it's just so good, is that they actually offer a one-on-one onboarding call completely for free. It was super easy to book. Whenever I signed up for an account, they gave me a link where I could just pick any time slot that fit my needs and my time zone, which is hugely convenient being a creator in the EU, whereas a lot of people that I have to have calls with are in the US, so matching up time zones can be such a challenge. It was really easy to book the call, and then we just hopped on the call and they walked me through the process of setting up the tool, which made onboarding extremely easy. Another great upside is that whenever I got stuck in the onboarding, I had a question about the integration with Notion, their support is right in the tool. You can literally just open a chat, dump your question in there, and they answered me back within like 30 minutes, and I had it figured out and set up within like an hour. And then I was just ready to use it. It was completely personalized, and it was immediately helping me be more productive. One of the main reasons why this whole Akiflow journey helped me massively in accommodating to my 15-minute breaks, and later on as well accommodating to the fact that I'll be working less for 8 weeks, is that I can have all of these tasks safely stored in one place, and I can make time blocks in between the 15 minutes where I can just drag tasks that I want to pick up in that time block. Because I know that I said in a previous time block video that you shouldn't schedule every single task, and while that in its core remains true, if you are on a routine like I am right now, which is honestly a wild routine of having 15 minutes breaks scheduled throughout your day and having to be really rigid in following them, then there is almost no escaping the rigid scheduling of your tasks as well, because that's the only way that I'm getting the things that I want to do done. And I'm already scraping so many things off my list just to make sure that I have the time to take all of these breaks. But the thing that Akiflow helps in massively is they prevent that whole process from being very painful and very messy, and they turn it into something that genuinely feels like a natural flow where I look forward to scheduling my week and scheduling all of my to-dos, even though I'm on an extremely rigid schedule, which could also feel extremely limiting and sad. But I just feel like I am at peace with all of this, and Akiflow played a huge part in that. So if this whole story about Akiflow and how it helped me helped you and piqued your interest, feel free to check them out through the link in my description box. And if you're a student, you'll actually get 60% off of their subscription, so please make sure to check out the code I've also linked in the description box down below. And actually, to conclude this whole video, I've mentioned a couple of times that I've talked about very specific strategies and my personal situation, but I think there's a couple of life lessons that we can all take away from this video about healthy productivity. And I have kind of used this term of healthy productivity from the moment that I started my channel, because to me it is very important that I'm not promoting like toxic productivity, extreme efficiency to a point where we expect ourselves to work like robots, because we're not. We're humans, and we deserve to treat ourselves that way. Not even be treated, but treat ourselves, because I feel like in some scenarios we are genuinely our own worst enemy when it comes to productivity. I have a motto that I always say on my live streams times, and that is self-care is sexy. And I feel like this goes such a long way in reminding yourself that your body needs to be taken care of and that productivity can only get you so far. If you are highly productive and you can do that for 2 years, but you're then burned out for another 5, you'd have actually gotten much further if you slowed down a little bit, taken care of your body and your mental health, and you would have been able to work for the full 7. So just keep in mind, whenever you're struggling, just tell yourself, hold up, self-care is sexy, and make sure that you take care of your body and whatever your body or your mental health needs at that point in time. The second one, and it sounds so obvious, but time is truly a resource. For me, realizing that so much of my time budget is now being spent on taking care of my body and my mind, it made me realize how less time, or like how little time I was spending on it before, and how I was neglecting that part of myself and not spending time on it because I didn't want to budget it in. It felt like spending money on something I didn't want to buy, but then spending my time on something that I didn't want to invest it in. And I feel like for me, it's genuinely such a conscious choice this year to want to invest time in that. But I notice it so much of how that cost me on other aspects of my life. Something that someone once said to me that has stuck with me forever is treat appointments with yourself like you treat appointments with others. Whenever you are working and you have to pick up your kid from daycare, or you have to, I don't know, put something in the mail, but the post office closes at 6, and you're working, you will tell people at work, hey, I'm so sorry, but I really gotta run because I have XYZ commitment that I need to get to. And then when that person told me that you need to treat an appointment with yourself like an appointment with another, that means that if you make an appointment with yourself to relax tonight, to wind down tonight, to maybe read, to take care of yourself, and someone asks you if you can do some extra work, if you can pick something up, if you can take care of something for them, then that's the moment where you have to treat that appointment with yourself like you would appointments with others, and you would tell them, no, I'm so sorry, I cannot, I have other commitments. You don't even have to explain yourself. You don't even have to tell anyone that it's a commitment to yourself. It is a commitment, and that's all that matters. Another really important one, and I've learned this lesson in like the intake from the treatment that I'm going to do, is resting and recharging does not equal lazy. And this is such a simple one again, but it's so incredibly powerful. You're just being productive on other things. You're literally being productive because you're caring for yourself. And this is the way that they wrote it in the little sheet that they gave me when I went home. They were like, it might feel like when you have to lay down for 15 minutes, in those 15 minutes, you could potentially experience that you're lazy. However, just remember that practicing rest is also an exercise. So actually you're exercising. And that to me just completely changed the whole thing around on how easy it was to discipline myself to actually do this. Because it's so much easier to force yourself to do an exercise, or at least in my case, than it is to force myself to be lazy, if that makes any sense. Also, we are not supposed to be working 24/7. That's just not what we're built for in this world. I have a whole video which is called You're Wasting Your Life Being Productive, which is about other experiences in life that should count at least equally to productivity. I've linked that video in the description box down below. If you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts about that, feel free to check that out. But I genuinely believe we as humans are not walking this earth to be ridiculously productive. And there's a lot of other things that we can be doing to make our life rich and fulfilling. And then lastly, finding the right system that can support you in sustainable productivity and healthy productivity is key. And that system looks different for everyone. So whatever you can take away from this video, from any video on my channel, know that you don't have to exactly copy it and think to yourself that you're a failure if it doesn't work for you. Every brain is different, every person is different, and if my system doesn't work for you, doesn't mean that there is no system out there that can actually help you. But figuring out your system can vastly help in making your healthy productivity lifestyle more sustainable because it's easier to upkeep for yourself. It helps so much in figuring out your own boundaries and holding those boundaries in place when someone else tries to cross them. With all of those life lessons, I hope that you learned something from this video. If you did, feel free to toss it a cheeky like because it genuinely really helps the video get to more people. Let me know in the comments down below what your most important takeaway was, or if you have any additional questions, I would love to answer them. And if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I do plan on making more videos like this, while of course also continuing to make videos about Notion and time management and all of those things. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you on the next one. Bye everyone.